Hello, welcome to Naya and Mummy's cooking channel. We're gonna make Moroccan lamb tonight, which actually the timing is so perfect because I hosted a heavy periods webinar this afternoon, and guess what? Lamb is a great source of iron. So for all my iron deficiency ladies, this is a great recipe for you. So we've gone ahead and done some prep work. We've got all our veggies cut. You can use any veggie that you like, really. What do we have? We've got
carrots and zucchini, onions, mushrooms, peppers, and celery.
And we've used other veggies too. We've used green beans, we've used asparagus, we've used cauliflower, broccoli. You can throw sweet potato in there if you'd like. Really anything goes. We vary it up every week, just depending on what we have in our fridge. And then the other thing that we've prepped and washed are the chickpeas. Which is so wonderful for your gut. And this is the brand that we use. It's Eden Organics. And the reason why we use this one is because it is only water, salt, and kombu that is in the can. Kombu is really fantastic to help with absorbability, to break up some of those lectins in the chickpeas. And there's no BPAs in the tin. So I really like that. So we're gonna get started. We've preheated the stove. Naya's preheated the stove. We have it on about medium. We're just right now gonna start with sauteing the lamb. Do you want to put a little bit of oil?
Yeah.
There's probably already gonna be some on there.
It practically makes it on its own.
So we'll just put a little bit. So we're using a tagine. This will end up going on top. We call it a volcano. We're using a tagine. You don't have to use a tagine if you don't have one. Oh, let me open that for you. You can use a cast iron pan with a lid. You could use a wok with a lid. You could use a regular frying pan with a lid. Ideally, you want something that has a lid, because it's just going to help it to tenderize and get all of the flavors in there as well. Speaking of flavors, I just realized I didn't get the spice rack down, so I will do that in a hot second. But it's so nice to have all of those flavors just meshing up in there when you have it covered. But if you don't have a cover for your frying pan, your wok, what have you, then you're gonna do without. No big deal. All right, let me just wash my hands. Mine's gonna go ahead and get that lamb sauteed. So we're using ground lamb. We're using an organic pasture raised lamb tonight. Well, that's what we usually buy anyway. All right, let me get the seasonings down now. I forgot to grab those. So I'm gonna put it over here so you don't block it. So the seasonings we use are cinnamon. So Ceylon cinnamon in particular. Cinnamon, by the way, really great to support blood sugar. Ceylon cinnamon, not regular cinnamon, Ceylon cinnamon. What else do we put in there? We put paprika.
Garlic, if there is no actual garlic.
Right. Today we're going to be using garlic powder because I ran out of garlic. Usually I use garlic cloves, but we ran out, so we're going with that. We also put in cumin or cumin, depending on how you want to pronounce it. We've got the salt. So salt, I use Redmond real salt. I'll grab the bag in a second. We just kind of keep it on the counter in that. Did you want to put a little bit of black pepper today?
Yeah, I always do.
Black pepper. And then allspice. Allspice. I think that's it, right?
Yeah, sometimes I add a mishmash of stuff.
You want to do oregano?
Yeah.
All right, let me find the oregano. So just a heads up, we really don't measure. We kind of just
dump it in
and kind of go with the taste and flavor. This recipe, what I'll do is I'll actually share a link to the original recipe, which we've modified as we've made this recipe, oh my gosh, I don't know, dozens of times. We've kind of adjusted it to suit our own. But what I'll do is I'll post the original recipe and that will actually have quantities of the spices. Like I said, we don't really measure, we just kind of dump. That's what we do in our house. We don't measure, we just dump it in. So that's what we do.
Maybe I'll put the spices in there.
Yeah. Do you wanna maybe pop it up a little bit?
Yeah.
Swap.
Hey.
And there's Abby coming
Hey,
to say hello. Abby, volume down, please. Thank you. And then we also serve it. Usually you can either do rice or quinoa. We just had rice a couple of days ago, so we're gonna do
Okay, fine, the quinoa.
we're gonna do quinoa. Everybody's weighing right now, so are we doing rice then?
No, just the quinoa.
We can do rice. I don't mind. We can do rice. I'll get the rice.
Rice is good for you.
We'll do rice. We use white rice. I get the organic long grain white rice. So I used to use brown rice or wild rice, but it turns out white rice is actually so much better for your gut in particular. You're probably going to hear me say that a lot today because there's so much of what we're doing in this recipe is so supportive for your gut health as well. I cook rice and quinoa, any grain that I'm making with dinner. I don't cook oatmeal in bone broth, but any grain that I cook in bone broth. So we actually just made some bone broth yesterday, so it's in the fridge. It's going to make it really easy. And it's just, you know, the regular way that you would make rice, 1 cup of rice, 2 cups of bone broth. I put in 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then I always put in a little bit of kombu because again, it's bringing nutrients into the rice. We're getting some minerals and it also helps to break up some of the lectins that you'll find and phytates that you're going to find in grains. So put that, though, I'll show you when we get there. So we're gonna do rice.
Where's the lid?
It fell off. So Naya's just dumping. I love it with lots of spice. So I sometimes will just add extra.
Extra what? Spice?
Spice, yes.
That's
Especially
okay.
the cinnamon and the allspice. I love. So this is the salt. Could you put the salt already? You haven't
Not
gotten
yet.
it yet?
No.
So this is the salt, the Redmond real salt that we use. This goes into everything that we use for cooking and baking. I'm just gonna fill up our little salt container over here. I love Redmond real salt because it is pure sea salt. It is rich in all kinds of micro minerals and it's really well balanced. So I do not use table salt. I'm not a proponent of table salt. We use salt on everything. It's kind of like a Frank's Red Hot Sauce situation. I put that on everything. We salt everything. So that's the salt we use. There you go. That's all filled up.
Lots of spice.
Amazing.
Flash.
I turned it up a little bit. Is it okay?
Yeah, it's good.
Amazing.
Okay.
And then the other thing that we need is tomato sauce, which I'm just now realizing we don't have.
Oh!
But I did buy, I do actually have a little bit. I bought a pasta sauce that we can use.
Yeah.
So there's a tomato sauce, a marinara sauce that we get from Costco actually, which is what we usually use. In this recipe, I just realized we actually don't have any. But there is a pasta sauce that I bought on the weekend, which we will use as a substitute. So I'm gonna get that out.
Wait, how many teaspoon thingamabobs do we use?
1 to 2. So I'm a salty person. I like salt. So I've actually even put as much as 4/4 teaspoons, so a total of 1 teaspoon. Yeah.
Wow.
But not everybody likes that saltiness, so I keep it low, so 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon. And then if anybody wants to add salt at the table, they can do that. And we've got Redmond sea salt on the table. We also have a Vogel on the table, which is an Herbamare salt. I really, really like it. Oh, that is going to be delicious. The cinnamon just
To give
fell out. It was gonna be
balance
so
the
good.
paprika.
No, that's gonna be so good. All right, let me grab the. Yeah, this should work. It's a sweet basil marinara, so it's gonna bring a little bit of a basil taste, but that should be okay. And we're gonna use some of that. Yeah, so that should be fine. Okay, so we're just gonna stir this up and we will add in, oh, the other thing that we need is dates. Let me
I
grab
can
those
cut
too.
that. I can cut
Well, you can cut it after we put the veggies in.
that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. All right, so we'll get this down. So we're gonna just saute the lamb, continue seasoning it. This is gonna be so good. You are being like very liberal with your seasonings this
You
evening.
need the flavors.
Yeah, we do need the flavors. I love
Usually
it.
don't put it.
No, you don't usually put that much. This is gonna be so good. I usually put a lot. So this is gonna be great.
Sliding.
I know it does that. All right, so we're gonna mix this up and then we're gonna get the veggies in and we will come back in just a minute. So we put the veggies into the pan. Go ahead. The veggies are in the pan, the chickpeas are in the pan. Now we're putting in the dates. So it's about, what'd you say? That's about like a third of a cup, maybe half a cup
Yeah.
of dates that Naya's chopped. And then we'll.
You have to eat it. Have to.
Part of the cooking process, as Naya would say.
And
So that's all mixed in there. And then we usually will let that sort of saute a little bit before we put the tomato sauce on. Do you want to do that today or do you want to just put the tomato sauce on to get all the flavors in? We just kind of go with what we feel.
minutes.
Couple of minutes.
And then we'll put it on.
All right, cool. So we're just gonna put the lid on. And then I will get to the rice. So I'm gonna grab, oh, my pot's over here actually. So here's my pot. My pot, I have rinsed a cup of rice. It's really important to rinse your rice. If you've never rinsed your rice before, rinse it over an empty sink or even like a clear bowl and just see how dirty the water actually is. You'd be so
It's dirty.
surprised. It is crazy. Always rinse your grains, your rice, quinoa, whatever it is that you're making, buckwheat, spelt, teff, all of that. Always rinse it first. So I've rinsed a cup of rice. So that's going in. You can even soak them actually. Soaking helps with digestion as well. Grains, rice, seeds, nuts. So I've put that in. Naya's gonna put in a piece of kombu.
The size of the combo should always be the length of your thumb. So it's not really cute.
The tough one.
So around this much.
About an inch, 2 inches or so. Pop that in. And again, that just helps. It helps bring more nutrients into your food, brings minerals in. It's gonna help with absorption and digestibility. So this is the bone broth that we just made yesterday. So I'm just giving it a stir. I know you want some. Everybody wants to drink the bone broth. I can't keep up with the bone broth demand in the house, especially in the fall and winter. Where did I put the, oh, measuring cup of tea. Yes, miso soup, just as an aside, miso soup made with bone broth instead of water, nothing compares. All right, so all I'm gonna do is put in 2 cups of bone broth into my pot. Do you wanna grab the salt?
Yeah.
And then a nice heaping 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Oops, actually, I'm gonna.
Nice.
Nice heaping teaspoon.
Teaspoon?
Sorry, 1/4 teaspoon, 1/4 teaspoon. Not a teaspoon, that would be far too much. Lid goes on. And we're gonna put that on high heat until it boils. You wanna put the tomato sauce now? Okay. Careful, that's gonna start to get hot.
I'm gonna put spices.
Yeah. So with the tomato sauce, again, we don't really measure, we just eyeball. I would say we put about like a half. Oh, that might be almost a cup that I put in. Half to 3/4 is what I was going to say, which is probably about what that is. And then I just kind of carefully stir it. And then really, it's just gonna sit in the tagine, or again, if you're using a frying pan, or if you're using a wok or a cast iron, whatever it is. Ideally with a lid, but again, if you don't have a lid, then you don't have a lid and you're making it without a lid. No big deal. And then we just leave it covered to cook for about half an hour usually. Really what you're looking for is for the veggies to be nice and tender, not mushy. You want them to be tender.
Al dente.
Al dente, that's a perfect description, actually. Al dente. A little bit of a crisp to them, but nicely cooked. And when you have it covered, like with the tagine, it just, all of the seasonings, all of the flavors just, oh, it's so delicious. And then the meat is so nice and tender. It's really, really good. So we will just uncover it a few times periodically, give it a quick stir, make sure everything is good. And then dinner will be served. So we're gonna do that. I'll hit pause. We'll be back shortly.
Can I do miso with water?
All right, so it's been about 10 minutes. We're just gonna do a quick check and see. Ooh, that looks good. Oh my gosh. Oh, yes, that smells so good. And already you can see the veggies are starting to
Loosen up.
tenderize a little bit. Oh, this is gonna be so good. And there's a nice flavorful liquid developing on the bottom. That is going to be great. All right, so we'll cover that back up. And our rice is also looking really good. So it's just on low right now, doing its thing.
No.
We're making great progress. This is gonna be so good. I'm gonna get a line prepared. Just FYI, while this stuff is cooking, we're over here like cleaning up the kitchen and portioning out the bone broth and like just all of the little errands that are lying around that need to get done every night. So there's ways to fill your time. This is a very easy meal to make because most of it's just sitting on the stove. There's the initial prep work of chopping and sauteing, but after that, it is sitting on the stove and just doing its thing. And so that's a great opportunity. There's so many things you can actually do to fill that time. So I just portioned off the bone broth, did a little bit of tidying up. I'm going to do some more tidying up afterwards, but this is also an opportunity where you can start even like making kids lunches for the next day, make your lunch for the next day. Better yet, like make enough. We always make enough so that there's at least leftovers for my husband, her daddy to have lunch the next day. Oftentimes there's enough also for me to have a lunch the next day too. It just makes it so easy, right? You've got a lunch ready to go the next day, grab and go, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. But use this time, right? Like you can start prepping food. What I have done in the past, when I've got one meal cooking, I'm starting prep work for the next day's meal. So if you know that tomorrow is going to be a really busy day and you're not going to have a lot of time to come home and cook a meal, start the prep work now. Chop the veggies, get your meat prepped. Maybe you want to marinate something. Get everything ready and in the fridge, write down instructions even. There was a time when I worked in a corporate office, I would do the prep work the night before for dinner the next day. I would get everything onto the trays, into the baking dishes, and I would write out a little note with instructions to my husband how long to put it in the oven for and at what temperature, so that when because he got home before I did at that time, he would just start getting dinner ready. So there's so much opportunity to really use the time that you have available while it's cooking. There you have it. All right, we're gonna let it do its thing a little bit longer and we'll pop on when things are looking ready to go.
Yeah.
All right. All right, we're back. It's ready. So in total, it's been about half an hour and it is looking and smelling amazing. Chad just came up from the basement and said it smells so good. And Abby says it smells so good too. So the veggies are nice and tender, al dente, as Naya would say. The rice is beautiful and fluffy and delicious. So we're gonna start to plate. Would you like to plate or do you want me to plate?
No,
You want me to? Okay. So I'm gonna start with Abby's. So the girls don't like their lamb on top of their rice. They like it on the side, and I don't really put as much of the saucy bits on theirs for them either, but a little, okay, I'll do a little saucy, but there's, it's not a very good view. Let me get another plate. Abby, there's yours, honey. All right, let's do another one. So here's Naya's. By the way, the kombu that's in the rice, totally edible. You can absolutely eat it. I do. Nobody else does, but I love it. So here's Naya's. We'll put a little bit of the saucy. Yeah. Okay, good. Naya loves it. She always comes back for seconds. Is that a better? You can't really see. Whoops, we're dripping. I'll have to take a picture. But that's it. Oh, I forgot about the limes. So I cut up some limes. So I'm chopping off my head. So I put a lime onto the plate. Cilantro is really nice as well. You know what? I almost bought some this weekend and then I didn't. I should have. I know. And that's it. So we're gonna dish it up. I like to eat it with a spoon. This is a spoon kind of meal.
I like both.
Fork works. Hot sauce. Hot sauce, cayenne. I sometimes like chipotle. I like there's like the smokiness in a chipotle. But you can use cayenne, you can use chili pepper. You can actually cook it with any kind of a heat, a spicy heat. The kids don't eat that, so we don't cook with it. But you could absolutely do that. We often, Chad and I will add it afterwards. And it's really, really nice. So that's our Moroccan lamb. Thank you for joining us for our very first ever little cooking show. I hope you try this recipe. If you do, comment below, let me know your thoughts. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to comment. I'd love to connect with you. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. What do I press?
Now you can press stop this time.